loss and no regret. Happy before we get another day to do it all again. Oh, we're throwing open all the curtains wide. Oh, not gonna miss a thing. Oh, nothing's promised to you in this life, but it's there for us to take. So live well, be bold, be brave. Let in the sun. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Oh, let in the sun. All of the best yet to come. Oh, let in the sun. Don't know what you got till it's gone. Oh, let in the sun. All of the best yet to come. We're throwing open all the curtains wide. Not gonna miss a thing. Nothing's promised to you in this life, but it's there for us to take. So live well, be bold, be brave.
Oh, sorry. Welcome to the locker room. I got to get used to that because I'm now Crime Search Nan, and it is 3:33 in the afternoon, and you could be anywhere, but you're here with me. I'm Nancy. Alrighty. So today we are going to discuss Amanda Riley. The reason the thumbnail says Scamanda is because there is a program, I want to say on Netflix or Hulu, I can't remember which one it is, but it's on one of those channels, and it might be on Prime. I'm not sure. Anyway, or Paramount. I read it. We'll find it here somewhere. But it's a docu-series podcast called Scamanda, which details her elaborate fraud scheme. Okay? So, we're going to discuss Scamanda. Now, Scamanda is what this docuseries has given the name for Miss Amanda Riley. All right, so who is Amanda Riley? Let's jump right on in here. Oh, I won't be here tomorrow because my friend in Hutchinson needs me to go up there and help her for the day again. Her husband has to go to Oklahoma. We're not sure about that. If he doesn't have to go to Oklahoma tomorrow, then I don't have to go to Hutchinson. All right, have a good night. My son's leaving for work. Then I won't have to go to Hutchinson. But if he does go to Oklahoma, then I do have to go to Hutchinson. I am needed in Hutchinson. It's not that I have to go. She's a friend, and I want to go. Because I know if I was in her situation with a broke leg and not being able to walk and everything, I know she would do it for me. So anyway, that being said, um, let's get it on. My first place here with Amanda Riley is going to be straight from Grok. This is Grok right here and I got it on X. Okay, so it says, I'm assuming, because I asked, what do we know about Amanda Riley? And I spelled her name wrong because I didn't know. I'd only seen it one time and I wasn't sure how it was spelled. So anyway, it says, I'm assuming you meant Amanda Riley, spelled Riley, as there's no prominent true crime figure named Amanda Riley. And the context of our discussion points to the Scamanda case. If you meant someone else, please clarify and I'll adjust the response. That's how Grok responds. It's like it's talking straight to you because you ask it a question and it answers it back like it's talking straight to you. And I love that. Amanda Riley is the subject of true crime docuseries and podcast Scamanda, which details her elaborate fraud scheme. Here's what we know about her case based on recent information. The background. Amanda Christine Riley, a San Jose, California native, was a wife, mother of two, an active member of the Family Community Church. She presented herself as a devout Christian and former educator, gaining trust in her community. She married Corey Riley in 2011, becoming a stepmother to his daughter Jessica, and later having two sons with him. The scam. Starting in 2012, Riley falsely claimed to have Hodgkin's lymphoma, a type of blood cancer, documenting her supposed battle on a blog called Lymphoma Kentucky, and social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. She posted photos of herself in hospital settings with the shaved head, oxygen tubes. Now, that is why my cartoon image in my thumbnail had a girl in a hospital hooked to machines and stuff, because there is a picture of her in that situation, but it has this link to it that you can't copy and paste it. So I had to make my own through Adobe AI. Okay, so anyway, that's it. Shaved head. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry for yawning. That happens every time I come live. Every time. Okay. Oxygen tube and medical equipment, claiming to undergo chemotherapy and radiation. She solicited over 100,000. I put too many zeros. I'm sorry. In my description below, I put too many zeros. I'm sorry. In donation from friends, family, church members, cancer foundations, and strangers, including celebrities like Leanne Rimes, through fundraisers and online platforms like www.supportamanda.com. In reality, Riley had no cancer diagnosis and used the funds for personal expenses like vacations and shopping. Deception tactic. Riley went to extreme lengths to maintain her lie, forging medical records, doctor's letters, and certifications. She shaved her head to mimic chemotherapy effects, though her intact eyebrows and eyelashes raised suspicions. Now, I have my friend in Hutchinson has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer? Or appendix cancer. I think it's one of those. Okay. So she has stage 4 cancer. She's going through chemo. Not right now while her leg's broke because the chemo prevents the leg from healing. But before and after, she goes through chemo. When she has chemo, she gets attached to a pump in a port every 2 weeks, and it's a 3-day process of her getting chemo pumped into her body for 3 full days. And then she gets the pump off for 2 weeks, and then she goes back and gets it again. She shaved her hair because she thought it was going to fall out. It didn't. She still has her hair and is starting to grow out, but she likes it shaved because it's easier for her to take care of. So she keeps it very short. But she has her eyebrows. She would have hair if she let it grow long. And she even has to still shave her legs. And she's been on chemo for 3 years. So, yeah. I kind of don't understand the shaving your head part. I know she expected to lose her hair with the chemo. Now there's different kinds of radiation therapy. There's radiation therapy and there's chemotherapy. From what I am understanding, chemotherapy does not make you lose your hair, but radiation therapy does. So, but I could be wrong because I don't have cancer, thank the Lord. And I hope I never do. And I hope nobody else ever gets cancer. But that's all I know. And with my friend in Hutchinson, I'm able to ask any question about cancer. She will give me any information about cancer. But I have another friend right here in the town I live in that if I ask her questions about cancer, she gets offended and says I have no filter. And says she doesn't want me around anymore. So I don't understand that. But that's her. That's her choice. I will honor her choice because I care about her as a friend. Okay, so anyway, here we go. She even claimed her pregnancy in 2013 reversed her cancer, further manipulating supporters. Riley also gave false testimony in legal proceedings and sued those who questioned her. Wow. Unraveling the scam. In 2016, investigative producer Nancy Moscatillo, who lost a sibling to cancer, received an anonymous tip and spent 5 years investigating Riley. Despite a 2016 home raid, Riley continued her deception. IRS investigators and healthcare professionals later caught her tampering with medical tests, leading to her arrest. Legal consequences. Okay. In October 2021, Riley pleaded guilty to wire fraud. In May 2022, she was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, ordered to pay $105,513 in restitution, and faced 3 years of supervised release. Initially incarcerated at Federal Medical Center Carswell in Fort Worth, Texas, she was moved to a transitional facility in San Pedro, California, with an expected release date in December 2025. During her first 18 months in prison, she required 24 ambulance trips for medical issues like chest pain, head lacerations, raising suspicions of Munchausen syndrome, though unconfirmed. Recent deployments. A 2023 podcast, Scamanda, and a 2025 ABC News docuseries premiered January 30th, streaming on Hulu January 31st. That's why I thought it was on Hulu. Okay, now I didn't watch that. I could have watched it today, and I'm not going to post it in this because I learned through another live that I did um, earlier that um, when I when I restream things like that, I get copyrighted, and I don't like getting copyright strikes. So because if you get so many of them, the first time is just a warning. The second time you can lose your channel for a week, and further on until you completely lose your channel. So I'm not going to stream those documents, those docuseries. You're welcome to go watch them, and then I encourage you to go watch them if you're interested in the story. So it's called Scamanda. Okay. Brought renewed attention to the case. Producer Charlie Webster, who spoke with Riley off camera since her 2022 sentencing, revealed Riley's expressed regret, but also claimed ongoing health problems, which Webster doubts. Riley's husband, Corey, filed for divorce in January 2024 and relocated to Texas with their children. Some, including Corey's former stepdaughter, Jamie, question is awareness of the scam, though he faces no charges. Cultural impact. The case compared to other cancer scams like Mel Gibson's highlights themes of trust deception and the exploitation of empathy. It explored in Scamanda through interviews with investigators, former friends, neurological analyzing neurologists, neuropsychologists, let's get this right, analyzing Riley's possible narcissistic or Munchausen traits. So, and there says there's 25 web pages, which we'll go through some of them, but not all of them, because some of them are repeats of the same one. So, okay, that's on Grok, and the link to that is in my description below. Now, next, we will go to if it'll pull up on screen. There it goes. There it goes. Okay, we have an advertisement. We don't need the advertisement. I don't want to click that. Okay. Yeah, I can click that. Okay. What happened? Whoops. Maybe I shouldn't have clicked that. Okay. Okay. What? This is on Yahoo Entertainment. The link is in the description. Here's where Amanda Riley from Scamanda is now after reports she's still faking illnesses. This is what she looks like after her hair started growing back. Unless she colors her hair, it grew back lighter than it was prior to her shaving her head. Now it does kind of look, but that could be a shadow. It does kind of look like it's got dark roots here, but that could be a shadow. Okay, the Scammer documentary series seems to be a thing these days, perhaps because there are enough scammers for multiple documentaries. Ironically, Netflix's Apple Cider Vinegar, which tells the story of Mel Gibson, and ABC's Scamanda, which tells the story of Amanda Riley, are about two very similar stories, cancer scammers. Now, we all know, if you've watched, if you've been on the YouTube streets other than my channel, we have what is called the Green Team, who are the people searching for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, Summer Wells, and all of them that are missing. And the two kids up in Canada and these people that are missing. They're really really doing the work looking for them. Then we have the other team, which I call Blue Jays, but they're actually, I don't remember what they call them, the hate channels. Anyway, I don't know. There is a content creator. I won't name her name, but from what I understand, well, actually, there's two of them that's done this. Um, they claimed and got GoFundMe's and stuff claiming that they had cancer. And even though it was found out that they didn't have cancer, they are still very active. Hey, Reality Wins, how are you doing? Called the Dark Siders. Okay, let me open that before I try to drink out of it. Reality says that the other side is called the Dark Siders. And I hope they backed off from their abuse towards Brittany. But okay, so back to this. How are you doing, Reality? I haven't seen you in forever. Scamanda, which is streamed on Hulu, is based on the podcast of the same name and goes in depth into the story of California native Amanda Riley, a young wife and mother who became famous for blogging about her struggles with stage 3 cancer. Okay, in the last article we read on Grok, it said stage 4. Now it's saying stage 3. Riley went on to receive $100,000 in donations before her claims came under suspicion. Okay. An old friend of Riley's, Lisa Berry, ended up being the reason she was caught. Berry reached out to investigative podcast producer Nancy Moscatello about the alleged scam, with police getting involved soon after, as well as the IRS. However, even after all this, Riley tried to keep up the ruse on social media. She used her presence on these sites to document her non-existent medical condition and to aggressively solicit donations um, supposedly to cover her medical expenses. The U.S. Attorney's Office told People, in truth, Amanda had no medical expenses. The donations she received were deposited into her personal bank account and used to pay for living expenses. What happened to Amanda Riley after her scam was discovered? Where is she now? After Riley's scam was discovered, consequences followed. In July 2020, she was charged with the wire fraud by the IRS in connection with the scheme to solicit donations from individuals to help pay for cancer treatments she never needed nor received. In 2021, Riley pled guilty to the charges and confessed to her scam. In truth, as I knew I did not have Hodgkin's lymphoma and have never been diagnosed or treated for Hodgkin's lymphoma or any other type of cancer, she said in her plea agreement. I'm suffering a medical issue, but I see a specialist hoping to get pinpoint reasons why I'm suffering an allergic reaction as I am. I've been staying inside as much as possible as the steroid says limit sunlight. Thank you for asking. I will put you on my prayer list. I am so sorry you are going through that. Is it making you feel like cruddy and stuff, or I don't know. I don't want to ask too many questions because I don't know how much you want to actually spread out there. 2 weeks now, okay. I hope you get results soon. Is it like breaking out on your face and stuff like that? That kind of medical condition? Okay. Prosecutors recommended an 18-month sentence, but Riley was insisted. To me, it's so annoying. I can understand it. I had alpha gal one time. It was caused by getting bit by a tick, one of those brown spotted ticks, which now you can get it from fleas and you can get it from mosquitoes and you can get it from ticks. So, if you get alpha gal, you break out in rashes, really painful rashes, that, and they turn your face bright red and everything, and it hurts. Okay, but with alpha gal, you can't eat anything from hooved animals. No dairy, no pork, no beef, no deer, nothing. And it is hard to get used to a chicken diet. But now I only eat chicken and turkey. I don't, and alpha gal only lasts about 6 months, but there's really not anything I can do about it. So that's something that some people might think about if they get bit by a tick. So anyway, I do believe that this will happen again, she explained. Wait, sentenced to 60 months in prison, with the judge saying she found the public to be at significant risk from Riley. I do believe that this will happen again, she explained. Riley was so ordered to pay restitution for the sum of $105,513 and sentenced to 3 years of supervision following her release. So she's supposed to be released in December of this year, and then she's got 3 years of probation. Amanda Riley has been in prison serving her sentence for Federal Medical Center Carswell in Fort Worth, Texas since 2022. The San Francisco Chronicle reported last year that Riley was still faking illnesses even while in prison, with records indicating that she was taken to the emergency room 24 times in the first 18 months of her sentence. She was also reported caught trying to tamper with test results. Riley still has 48 months of her sentence to go as of the time of this story being written. Riley's husband, Corey, was not charged with any crimes and filed for divorce from her in 2024. However, not everyone believes in his innocence. As his former stepdaughter, Jamie, said during the docuseries, I think Amanda and Corey just wanted things to go their way, and they would do whatever they felt they wanted to do to get their way. Okay. So his daughter or her daughter or whatever, the stepchild, is saying she doesn't believe it at all. So I'm waiting here for my next page to load up. Okay, now we are on HuffPost. Okay, it's still loading, but we can read it. I've never heard of HuffPost either, but this is what came on. Okay. Scamanda is the latest riveting and malignant saga of a cancer scammer. And there's 22 comments on the story. I'm trying to see if this is just going to be commercial. Yeah, I think that's just commercials. I don't think that has to do. Okay. Okay. Amanda C. Riley started her blog, Lymphoma Can Suck It, in 2012 after she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in her late 20s. On that blog and social media, in public speaking engagements, and on the stage of her megachurch, Riley chronicled her cancer battle over more than 7 years. The bubbly, charismatic Christian shared her heartbreaks and triumphs against the disease. In, okay, thank you. I'll read it as soon as I get done with my live cast. A bubbly, charismatic Christian shared her heartbreaks and triumphs against the disease, inspiring thousands of people. They spread the word and donations poured in by the tens of thousands of dollars to help cover her expenses, medical treatment. People also helped with babysitting and donating gift cards, concert tickets, and travel vouchers. Her fellow churchgoers celebrated her remission as miracles and then prayed by the thousands for her recovery with each terrible relapse. Now, okay, her and her husband go to church. How can her husband not be involved in this scheme? Because obviously her husband would hear about her having Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer at church if she's talking about this in front of the congregation. Yeah, the facts aren't adding up here. The math ain't doing the math. Riley had the support of family, friends, church congregants, cancer foundations, cancer patients, and compassionate strangers. What she did have, what she didn't have, cancer, okay? This is her not showing the actual medication. It looks like she's showing an empty bottle so that they can say, look, this is what I have to take, okay? Below is a picture on her blog. Amanda Riley wrote, this little inch-tall bottle with 10 milligrams of liquid gold is $12,500. Really? In fact, as the new hit podcast Scamanda documents, she was faking it the whole time, scamming people for money and gifts to support a lavish lifestyle, basking in their accolades and kind-heartedness. She preyed on people whose loved ones were ravaged by the disease. She also co-opted fundraisers for people who were genuinely sick. She even attended cancer patient support groups, learning details about their experiences and treatments to fitness her grift. So she joined all these groups so she could learn what to say to keep her story going. The podcast is hosted by British broadcast. Scammers deserve prison for thieving off interest. I agree, reality. This is what reality says. Scammers deserve prison for thieving off of innocent people. I agree with that 100%. 100%. And I think they deserve more than 3 years. Because if she did this, okay, if she scammed off people for 7 years, she should be in prison for 7 years and pay the restitution, in my opinion. But if it was me, which it would never be, but if it was me and I was sentenced more like 10 years, and yes, I agree. I can't say I wouldn't be happy only getting 7 years, because anybody would, or 3 years, whatever, anybody would, but it still isn't fair. Because think of all these people that she grifted off of. That's just. The podcast is hosted by British broadcaster Charlie Webster, who shares producing credits with Nancy Moscatilio, the journalist who spent years investigating and documenting the inconsistencies in Riley's story after receiving an anonymous tip. Muscatello's, whose sister died of cancer, later said it's infuriating to see a perfectly healthy person, take on a plight of true warriors of cancer for financial gain and attention. Scamanda reveals Riley's preposterous claims by reading from her own blog and interviewing her friends, some who were skeptical enough to cut ties. Her sheer audacity and commitment to the scam is staggering, and it's almost impossible not to scream in disbelief at Riley's lies. That her pregnancy was reversing the cancer, I don't know of anybody who's ever heard of that before. That she was terminally ill on and off for the last 4 years, that she had fluid drained from her brain one morning before swimming at her friend's pool that afternoon, that she self administered chemotherapy at home. I've never heard of that either. Yeah, I agree. Reality says, oh Lord, she's a liar. Yeah, I agree. Okay. There are so many giant red flags waving that listeners will be hooked as they try to make sense out of how anyone could believe her. Now that would be true. How could they make sense of how anybody would believe her? While Moscatello and millions of others saw their loved ones become weak and frail as cancer ravaged their bodies and endured agonizing pain, Riley seemed to be the picture of health. She once shaved her head, but in photos she shared of herself on social media and her blog over the 7+ years of her scheme, she is radiant. When she traveled across the country to receive what she said was life-saving but outrageously expensive treatment funded by her supporters, she posted sightseeing pictures, seemingly energetic and enjoying what at first glance looked like any other family vacation. According to one of Riley's blog posts from that trip that is read on Scamanda, she saw Wicked on Broadway, the Times Square New Year's Eve ball, and ice skaters circling the Rockefeller Center on Christmas tree. Riley also posted pictures of herself in hospital settings with oxygen tubing wrapped around her nosy cheeks and catheters in or attached to her arm and chest, and with her head bald while her eyebrows and eyelashes remained intact. Okay. Among her many astonishing claims is that she had terminal cancer Whoa. Do you see this? Reality says, oh Lord, newsflashy. Leilani is seeking a new trial. Shake my head. Now, y'all remember Leilani Simon, the one who unalived her 18-month-old son and carried him to a trash dumpster in a trailer park, and he was ground up by the trash truck and the rollers in the dump, and it took them over a week to find this much evidence of his body, just enough to get a sample. And now she wants a new trial? For what? I mean, she's guilty. I don't know how she could try to get off. I just don't see that. I don't see that happening. Yes, reality, I'm floored as well. I am floored as well. I'm going to have to search up on that and maybe I won't be here tomorrow, maybe do a blog about it next week. There'll be more information by next week. Among her many outstanding claims is that she had terminal cancer and was receiving chemotherapy during 2 pregnancies, but she gave birth to healthy baby boys against the medical odds. Yeah. if she really had chemotherapy, it would be trying to fight the pregnancy. And from what I understand of chemotherapy, because it fights everything foreign in your body. My friend in Hutchinson had a hernia, and they put mesh in where the hernia was by her stomach, and her body fought the mesh, and she had to go off of chemo for like 6 months, and they put a wound vac tube in, and it wouldn't drain, and it was terrible. It was terrible. She fought to try to keep that from. It took forever to get that healed. She was in and out of the hospital with that. Then after that healed, finally she could go back on chemo. But that's when they found out during that time. Now it's really crazy. It could have happened before because she hadn't gotten an MRI just before the mesh started in her stomach. So she hadn't gotten an MRI right for that. But after she was healed, she got an MRI, and they said no new meds. So that was like 1 year since she was diagnosed and went on chemotherapy. And they said, and had her surgery to have everything removed that they could remove. And then she started her chemo. And then a year later, they said no new meds. And she's now 3 years, because they gave her like 2 to 2.5 years to live. And she's got a tattoo she's putting up on her arm of a vein, and she's getting butterflies flying around it. And she now has 3 butterflies because she's 3 years. And she's a very strong woman. But she says she has day 3 syndrome, which they say that people that get chemo get that. 3 days after you get chemo, you are so weak and so tired that all you want to do is sleep, because the chemo just drains you and your body has to replenish itself. So a few people close to her who did have doubts did not raise them publicly and were reluctant to speak to Moscatelio. If they did, Riley and her husband Corey retaliated during the Riley's ugly fight for sole custody of his daughter Jessica. Corey Riley railed against Jessica's mother, Alida, for her belief that Riley was faking cancer, calling it unconscionable. Sorry, I had to sound that one out. Okay, so Amanda's husband, Corey, his ex-wife, was trying to get sole custody of her daughter because of what Amanda was doing, faking this cancer and everything. She might start actually trying to do Munchausen's by proxy. And that would be what the mother could be afraid of. And I can understand her point of view. I really can. If it was my child, I'd do the same thing. It is appalling that she accused us of engaging in an elaborate scheme to fake the horrible disease out of a selfish desire to rob the people closest to us. She told the court in a statement read on Scamanda, "The accusation is the ultimate example of her completely irrational hostility toward me that clouds her thinking." The judge awarded the Rileys full custody of Jessa. The girl later complained that she felt like the couple's full-time babysitter, feeding and caring for their younger sons while their mother feigned illness and their father was frequently absent. Then Amanda Riley sued Moscatelio for harassment and requested a restraining order because the journalist was asking questions about whether Riley really had cancer. The intimidation tactic didn't work. A judge threw out the case. Monticello wasn't alone. The U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of California would later say that Riley gave materially false testimony in several legal proceedings and attacked anyone who suggested she was malingering. Muscatello had pored over Riley's past blogs, monitored her social media updates, and documents the donations she'd received in cash and checks and gifts, meal deliveries, and travel for her purported medical treatment. Eventually, her efforts, with the help of the local detective, persuaded the Internal Revenue Service to investigate. In July 2020, Riley was charged with wire fraud using $100,000 in online donations to pay for personal expenses, and in 2022 was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. She has this courageous band because she's courageous enough to lie to that many people. I don't know what the green band says. Okay. Since begin, be, being, since binging, okay, Scamanda, I've listened to other cancer scammer podcasts, read news articles, and watched interviews. What's surprising is how similar their cons are. Riley went to Disneyland and sashayed around New York City. Megan Brary, who faked a brain tumor, spent months at a Disney World resort in Orlando, Florida. Riley met celebrities such as singer Leanne Rimes and had guitars signed by Journey and Tower of Power for a fundraising auction. Bari posed as photos for a pop group One Direction. A friend of Coco Berthman, a well-known human rights activist who had said she was sex trafficked by her own mother, told the Believable podcast that Berthman had claimed Celine Dion offered her a record contract years before she was charged in May of 2022 with felony communications fraud for pocketing thousands of dollars in donations after faking cancer. Belle Gibson faked cancer and became a wellness guru after falsely claiming that a healthy lifestyle had cured her, and Tawanzani fitness influencer occurred sponsorship as a dedicated weightlifter during the 3 years she falsely claimed she had cancer. And college student Maddie Russo regularly golfed despite falsely telling her TikTok followers she had two forms of cancer and a tumor on her spine. In fact, there's psychology behind the phenomenon of people faking cancer or other diseases. People with Munchausen syndrome or fascistious disorder pretended to have symptoms in order to receive medical treatment and often deliberately make themselves ill. In HuffPost interviews, a psychiatrist and a psychologist noted that there is a difference between the mental disorder and the malingering, which involves fabricating, exaggerating illness for practical gains, money from crowdfunding, or to escape punishment, for example. These are some of the gift cards that she had received. As compelling as Scamanda is, it is also frustrating. The timeline is confusing, jumping around from past to recent, and it's often not clear what period in Riley's life she began discussing. Adding to the confusion are segments that are repetitive and inadequate introductions and reintroductions of people being interviewed and their relationship to Riley and one other. It doesn't help that most of the contributors are white women with similar voices and that some have chosen to remain anonymous for various reasons. Riley and her husband and relatives declined to participate, and the podcaster's lack of access and through investigation resulted in huge gaps in the storytelling. It's a stark contrast to, for example, a rigorous years-long investigation by journalist Jamie Bartlett and producer Ruth Mayer for their podcast Believe in Magic, which carefully unpacks the story of teenage cancer scammer Bahari and the charity she set up. What's more, Moscatello and Webster failed to examine Riley's motives, how she pulled off the scam for so long, and what affected her actions had on so many people. Newer bonus episodes, which include interviews with Riley's college classmates, co-workers at the school where she was later hired as a principal without any credentials, and Monticello offered more detail, but also demonstrate how much is still missing from the story. Nor does Scamanda examine the phenomena of cancer scammers and the role internet sleuths like Monticello herself have played in exposing them in multiple cases, such as the um, people on the dark side, the couple of people who have done something similar as scamming through having cancer. I'm not going to name names. They know who they are. Okay. Um, Up until a bonus episode with Monticello, Westford is embarrassingly obvious about how easy it is to purchase medical equipment, obscure the names on bottles of medication, fabricate medical documents, and receive medical treatment by lying to doctors, to persuade a friend who was questioning her illness after Riley's legal problems became public a few years ago. Riley FaceTimed them while receiving an IV infusion that she claimed was chemotherapy. Webster seemed utterly mystified how she could pull this off despite the fact that medical spas have offered IV vitamins and hydration infusions for years. Wow. Hold just a second. Somebody wants me to make them a quilt and they're asking me questions about it. Okay, Amanda's battles with cancer. Amanda battle with Hodgkin lymphoma began in June of 2012. Everyone took comfort knowing that it was highly treatable cancer. In spring of 2013, she had a brief remission, but cancer returned with a vengeance by summer. And she learned that the same time she was pregnant, which obviously complicated her treatment. One round of chemo is savage, but after 3 different chemo regimens, her battle with cancer officially became a war. Treatable HL has now become stage 4 primary refractory Hodgkin's lymphoma with lung metastases. Current scientific research combined with the way the disease and chemo have ravaged her body, her battle for a cure has instead become a battle for time. Wow. But Webster wasn't alone in her belief. Even her authorities raised in Riley's home and later charged Riley with felony wire fraud for soliciting money for non-existent disease. Many of her supporters refused to believe that she had been lying. A friend told Scamanda that Riley admitted she was wrong, not for faking cancer, for not realizing she had to pay taxes on the donations that she had received. She said it would soon be resolved. I think I went directly back into the mindset of, can't this girl get a break? Can people leave her alone? Isn't she dealing with enough already? A friend of Riley's told Scamanda the whole thing was so elaborate, so intricate, that I couldn't fathom that this was a scheme, because who can put that much devotion and time and effort into such a huge, successful lie is mind boggling. In a bonus episode of Scamanda, Webster said that people who attended Riley's sentencing believed her right down to the last minute. It was so confusing to her victims, Webster said, not just why somebody would do this, but the Amanda they knew would never do this. Perhaps that's why cancer scams are so successful. People want to believe in the goodness of others. In a twisted way, the successful scammer's behavior is altruistic. They comfort people with cancer and raise awareness by supporting them, publicizing cancer charities and other organizations. At age 16 and supposedly ill herself, Megan Barr created her belief in magic charity to grant wishes, like meeting One Direction, to terminally ill children. The scammer's miraculous recoveries offer hope to people with terrible diseases and those who are caring for them. The hoaxer's joyful enthusiasm is inspiring, and they are applauded for their courage and positivity, even when they relapse or receive poor prognoses. They never fail to express their gratitude in speech, on social media, and in their blogs for the gifts they've been given. But of course, these are gifts that could be helping people who really are actually ill. You preyed on the kindness and goodwill of innocent, loving people for over 7 years, Judge Beth Labson Freeman said before handing down her sentence. You invaded the sanctity of communities and grieving members to support groups. You defrauded people of their money, of their goodwill, of their beliefs. You sought goodwill in and assistance from your neighbors, from church, from cancer support groups, all as a ruse to support your own lifestyle. This included deception and theft, forged medical records, preying on the goodwill of strangers, friends and family, and the significant impact on victims. Wow! That judge slapped her in the face. I could still feel that one. Okay, we only have 3 more. I wonder where H. Davis is today. He must be working late or something. Okay, now we're going to go again to Yahoo News, and Insider. Where is Amanda Riley's husband, Corey Riley, today? Here's everything we know about the Scamanda subject's partner. Okay. Amanda C. Riley is serving prison time for faking cancer and scamming supporters out of thousands of dollars. In 2023 podcast and a new docuseries cover her story, which also mentions her husband, Corey. Corey and Amanda have 2 sons together. Here's where Corey is today. The story of Amanda C. Riley, a Christian woman in California who used her now archived blog, Lymphoma Can Suck It, to chronicle her experience after supposedly being diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma was compelling from the start. A young woman blogging about having cancer in order to raise awareness and funds to help pay for her aggressive treatment was actually lying the whole time, leeching attention and more than $100,000 from her friends, family, and even strangers. Didn't her husband ask where all this money came from? It's the reason the Scamanda podcast quickly became a mega hit upon its 2023 release, and why a new ABC docuseries is telling the story for a second time, delving deeper into how Riley pulled off her scheme and how she was eventually caught. Amanda pleaded guilty to wire fraud charges in October 2021 and was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison in May 2022. She was also ordered to pay $105,513 in restitution to her victim. She currently incarcerated at FMC Carswell in federal prison in Fort Worth, Texas, and is scheduled for release in October 15th, 2026. Okay, the other one we read said she would be released in December 2025. So maybe she got more time for something. As of January 2025, no one else has been charged with crimes related to their involvement in Amanda's scheme. However, according to the Scamanda Project, the docuseries family members helped her set up websites to acquire donations and contributed posts to her blog. Whether any of them knew Amanda did not actually have cancer or they truly believed she was ill is unclear. While Amanda's fake cancer scheme was in full force, her husband, Corey Riley, was simultaneously battling his ex-wife, Alita Riley, in court for custody of their daughter. Jessa, per the podcast, he cited his wife's supposed diagnosis and medical expenses to try to win custody of Jessa and get his child support payments lowered. Here's everything we know about Corey Riley's life story. Okay, so if he wasn't in on the scheme or scam, why would he use her medical expenses as a way to get his child support payments lowered? Unless he couldn't actually believe she had cancer. Nobody's that stupid to be married to somebody and live in the same home with them for 7 years and believe that they're faking cancer. Seriously? Something, you know what? I don't have it on my screen. Something's not adding up here. I do not agree with it. Where's Amanda C. Riley's husband, Corey Riley, today? Corey and Amanda first met when Amanda was 17 years old. Cheerleading coach hired to instruct one of Corey's then wife, Alita's daughters, one of who actually had cancer, how to dance. Per the podcast, Corey was about 29 years old at the time. Corey and Alita eventually divorced, and he married Amanda a few years later. The couple had 2 sons together, Carter and Connor, whom Amanda would proclaim were miracles, since she claimed she shouldn't have been able to deliver a healthy baby while undergoing cancer treatment. Though the family lived in the Bay Area outside of San Jose, for most of the time Amanda was writing her cancer blog. They moved to Texas after Amanda lost her job as a principal at Pacific Point Christian School in Gilroy, California. Scamanda podcast host Charlie Webster told Glamour in 2023 interviews that Corey was looking after his 2 kids in Texas, where Amanda was serving her sentence. According to a divorce petition obtained by Today.com, Corey filed for divorce in January 2024. The file indicated that he was still living in Texas at the time. Read the original article on Business Insider. Okay, we're not going to go there. But I think he should file for total custody. Okay. Newsweek wants me to accept cookies. I don't want to watch the trailer. Okay. You know, I should really go on a diet with all the cookies I have to okay on my computer. Okay, close ad. I don't want the ad. Close this ad down here. All right. Scamanda's Amanda Riley has new health update amid 5-year prison sentence. Scamanda, January 30th, Thursday, 8 Central on Hulu and ABC. This is the ABC News Studios image. Amanda Riley, the woman behind the Scamanda scandal, is serving a 5-year prison sentence for wire fraud after faking a cancer diagnosis to scam donations. However, didn't we just read that Corey actually has a child who is fighting cancer? Or had a child who was fighting cancer? Okay. That might be where she got her idea. However, during the Thursday, February 20 finale of Scamanda, the ABC special about her story, viewers received an unexpected update on her current health status. Before the episode ended, producer Charlie Webster, who also hosts the popular podcast by the same name, disclosed an off-the-record conversation with Riley, 39, and shared that she continues to claim to suffer from health problems, although Webster was unsure whether this was true. For those out of the loop, Riley, once a seemingly cheerful wife and mother from a wealthy Bay Area suburb, used her blog and staged photos to fabricate near-death experiences while cancer gathering donation gifts and even celebrity perks along the way. This ultimately led to her conviction in 2021 for wire fraud, and she has been in prison since 2022. In an interview with US Weekly shared on the same day, Webster revealed that Riley has expressed deep regret for her actions. She regrets everything she's done every single day. Now she's in a situation where she has lost everything, Weber said on the outset. Producer Nancy explains how easy it is for Amanda to fool her friends and family into thinking she had cancer. Episode 3 airs Thursday, February 13th at 9 p.m. on ABC Network. Stream episodes 1 and 2 now on Hulu. Okay, so this was way back. It's like despite not participating in the podcast or documentary, Riley has kept in touch with Webster, who is wary of manipulation but has found her to be nice during her conversations. When he asked why she didn't try to stop her story once she was too far in, Webster recalled, she told me that she did try to stop and then was worried about losing everything, but she didn't. She just carried on because then people would ask her for health updates, right? She just dug herself deeper and deeper and couldn't get out of it. The podcast host also told the outlet that Amanda is currently in the middle of divorcing her husband, Corey Riley. The two have been married since 2011 and share two children, Carter and Connor. Amanda's fraudulent scheme began to unravel after investigative producer Nancy Moscatelio was tipped off by Amanda's former friend Lisa Berry, which led to police investigation. Her sentence is set to end with her release on December 9, 2025. Okay, now we just read that it was October of 2026. Now it's December 2025. I'm not lying, y'all. Y'all are seeing the words right on the page as I'm reading them. We're getting conflicting stories here. And that's it right there. Okay, so now the next one. See if we're going to get another story. Okay, this is from TV Insider, and it is Scamanda Riley reveals why she kept fake cancer scam going. Really? Amanda Riley spent more than 7 years pretending to have cancer before she was finally busted. Despite having her home raided in 2016 and knowing that investigative producer Nancy Moscatelio was doing a deep dive into her, Riley kept up the scam. Now she's finally addressing why she continued to elaborate ruse on her blog and in front of members of her community, even when she knew people were starting to catch on. She told me that she did not stop and then that she did try to stop and then was worried about losing everything, but she didn't. Charlie Webster, who produced the 2023 Scamanda podcast. What does it keep? It's from the ads up above is why it keeps jumping. Riley kept up the scam. Now she's finally addressing why she continued to elaborate the ruse on her blog and in front of members of her community when she even knew people were starting to catch. Oh, I already read that. She told me that she did try to stop and then was worried about losing everything, but she didn't. Charlie Webster, who produced the 2023 Scamanda podcast, which was recently transformed into a docuseries, told Us Weekly she just carried on because the people would ask her for health updates, right? She just dug herself in deeper and couldn't get out of it. Webster recently spoke to Riley, who is in the midst of a 5-year prison sentence after being charged with wire fraud for collecting more than $100,000 in online donations while faking cancer. The podcast host detailed some of the conversations she had with Riley during the Scamanda finale on Thursday, February 20th. Amanda got really upset at one point in the conversation about her children. Webster confirmed, referring to the two children Riley shares with Corey Riley, her husband, who filed for divorce in January 2024. She was really crying and very, very upset, sobbing. She said she's sorry. She does want to take accountability. She looked well. That was one thing that surprised me. Webster reiterated this in the Us Weekly interview, adding, "She has said to me that she is sorry. She regrets everything she's done every single day." She also describes Riley as nice, although admitted she doesn't want to be gullible, considering that she knows about the former school principal. To me, she's come across very upset at times, but she's also conscious that she doesn't want people to think she's acting like a victim. Whether explained, she also revealed that Riley has not been diagnosed with any sort of mental disorder and said she wants to serve her sentence and then try to figure out, if possible, how to apologize to the people she hurt. Now she should be spending her time in prison trying to figure that one out, not after she gets out. During her time in prison, Riley has continued to claim that she has health problems. During her first 18 months behind bars, she was taken to the emergency room 24 times, according to federal court records obtained by the San Francisco Chronicle. U.S. Attorney Michael Pittman revealed that Riley was caught trying to tamper with test results per healthcare professionals as recently as April 2024. Riley's legal team cited alleged diagnoses like cardiac arrhythmia and sleep terrors in a motion to try to reduce her prison sentence, which was denied according to the Chronicle. Webster admittedly isn't sure what to think about Riley's claims. I honestly don't know whether that's true or not, she said on Scamanda. Riley is due to be released from prison in December. She should be responsible financially for her 18 visits to the ER. No free passes. Okay, Granny, I'm confused about why her husband wasn't charged. Was he wearing blinders? Come on. Okay, I'm not going to read all those. But I'm going to go to this page, which I didn't have intended for it to be here. Okay, so here this is Amanda Riley, who's lied about having cancer. This is another one. This is Scamanda Riley. I can bring them up, but it's still small little pictures. Okay, so this is Scamanda Riley's husband, Corey. What? I don't know. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go back. These are just pictures of Amanda Riley. Here's her in a hospital room with oxygen. You know, and the way she could probably fake that is if she was actually visiting somebody in the hospital and they had gotten up to go to the bathroom, she could have jumped in the bed, covered up, put the oxygen tube on, and snapped a selfie. Okay, and here's one. This is the one I tried to use as my thumbnail, but I couldn't make a copy of it. Docuseries following her cancer battle. This is her faking. I don't know how this could be superimposed, you know, like done with AI or done with Adobe Photoshop or something like that. This is Amanda's husband, Corey. These are just images of her at different times. There's them with their two kids. See, she looks like a totally different person. She's got dark hair here, blonde hair here, kind of a reddish blonde here. It's just, this does not look like a cancer patient. I'm sorry. This is when she shaved her head. This is her with the stocking cap. This is her pretending to be in the hospital and her doctors. And then there's people so supportive. Team Amanda, you know. Here she is after with like a tiara with her head shaved. I can't imagine. I can't imagine doing something so hideous. All the people that she hurt. You know what that does? That lets people who truly are fighting cancer, it lets people other people in the beginning when they're actually diagnosed with cancer, it may lead them to believe that this person wasn't really diagnosed with cancer because they didn't have it before. Why would they have it now? All of a sudden, they like my friend in Hutchinson. She didn't even know she had cancer. Didn't even know. She'd been living a normal life, but she had this rock hard thing in her stomach, and it got to where it was hurting her. And she'd had it for 6 or 8 months, and she thought it was just a bowel blockage or something. She didn't know what it was. And if she ate, it hurt worse. And she learned that there were certain foods that she could eat that didn't make it hurt as bad. So she was trying to treat whatever this was in her stomach. Well, then she went to her mom because it was rock hard, and she's like, "Mom, what is this?" Her mom says, "I don't know, but you need to make a doctor's appointment." So she made a doctor's appointment. And then when they ran tests on her and everything, they found out that she had a large mass in her appendix that had already spread around her female organs and down into her bowel and into her lymph nodes. So when she was diagnosed at stage 4 cancer. Same thing happened to my mom. She thought she had the flu that she'd gotten in March of 2009. And in August of 2009, she woke up one day and she just couldn't breathe. So she had my dad take her to the hospital. And my dad took her to the hospital, and they drained 1.5 liters of fluid off her lungs and found small cell lung cancer in the back of her lungs. So they admitted her to the hospital, and then they called the whole family together because she had lung cancer and they wanted to tell us and everything. And I asked the doctor, I said, "She had a stroke a year ago. Is it possible that the stroke could have been caused by the cancer?" Because I knew my mom had, for years, had migraine headaches. And I'd asked her to go see if she had a tumor, and she got mad. It caused World War III. But, so since she was in a vulnerable place, and she couldn't do anything about me opening my big mouth, I asked the doctor, could the cancer have caused her stroke? He said he didn't know, but he would run tests the next day. And the next day they ran tests to find out if the cancer had caused her stroke a year ago. And they found out that she had cancer in her lungs, in her brain, in her bone marrow, and in her lymph nodes. She had stage 4 cancer. She chose not to fight because they told her that if she tried to fight with chemotherapy and radiation, they could possibly gain her 3 months to live. If she didn't fight, she could possibly live up to 3 more months. She said, "I'm not putting my body through all that pain and suffering if I'm not going to live any longer than that." So as a family, we chose to honor her decision. My mom lived 12 days. She passed away, well, she was diagnosed on the 1st. She passed away on the 12th of August. So even if she had agreed to get the cancer treatments, she wouldn't have been able to have gotten them started in time before she passed away. So, we honored my mother's decision, and she died August the 12th, 2009. My dad passed away February the 6th, I want to say. It was early in February of 2014. And he passed away because he was in the Navy, and he was also a smoker, and he was also a firefighter. So his lungs just turned fibrous, and he had had a heart attack, and then in the hospital he had a stroke, and then they started treating him with dialysis, and they had to give him a trach, and he finally got the trach off, but he was still breathing with a BiPAP machine. And one day the power in the hospital had gone off 5 times in that day. And I took my son, then at the time he was my little brother, he was 5 years old. I took him up there after kindergarten. Him and my dad's sister. I took him up to the hospital to spend time with him. And they set us all out so they could turn my dad over and everything. And we come back into the room. CJ jumped up on the bed and he was holding my dad's hand. And I've been told not to ever say this again, but CJ was holding my dad's hand and he was telling my dad about school. And my dad said, "I love you," to CJ. And CJ went on rattling like kindergartners do. And I was standing there. And CJ turned around, looked at me, and he said, "My daddy just died." Just that plain. So we called the Code Blue and everything, because I worked at that hospital at the time. I was an aide there. We called Code Blue. At the same time, my older brother, who had power of attorney on my dad, called me, wanted to know how my dad was doing. I said, "He just went non-responsive. They called the crash card in." I said, "What do you want me to do?" He gave me the code word. He said, "Let him go." He said, "He's fought all these years. He don't need to fight anymore." So it was they did what they could until my brother gave them the "don't do anymore" signal. My brother told me to give it to him. So my dad passed in 2014, and CJ was 5 years old at the time, and we've been raising him ever since. And he is about to graduate high school. He's 18 years old. He's in his senior year of high school. He's talking about wanting to go to school to become a teacher. He's decided he wants to be a junior high math teacher because math is one of his strongest subjects, and we couldn't be more proud of him. He still has the first job he's ever gotten. He's had it for over a year now. He recently got a raise, and she's given him more responsibility at the store. He's able to go to the store, be in the store without her there, to get the day started, get the fryers turned on and the grill turned on and the prep food out and this sort of stuff. He's getting more responsibility about getting ready to open the store. I'm proud of him for that. So, okay, with that, I'm going to end it because we have been here an hour and a half. I thank y'all for being here. If you have a story you'd like me to cover, just put it in the comments and I will do some research on it. Let's please keep Reality Wins in our prayers. As she stated before, she has been fighting some health issues, medical issues, and she's going to have to see a specialist about it. And I want to pray that they find an easy fix for this problem and she gets back on her feet soon. So thank you for being here. Do something nice for someone, even if it's just be the reason they smile and search for crime.